Right, here we go, going live. Good morning, welcome to a morning outlook on Friday the 30th of June. So one thing to bear in mind, it is the end of the quarter, end of the first half year, so we might get some further adjustments. As expected that some of the movement yesterday in the equity markets was adjustments. We could, as I say, today get some continuation. The adjustments don't seem to come through as they used to many years ago, when it all seemed to be a big rush at the end of the month on the last day if things would go a bit crazy. But I mean, traders have now sort of filtered that out through the year. Anyway, so be wary. There could still be some biggish moves. So let's look at the news events today coming out. We can just review yesterday's data. What gave the market a real kicker in the afternoon was this big change in the final GDP data. Generally, I was looking back historically, and it's sort of 1 or 2 points differential, so 1.5, 1.6 might have been expected, and we wouldn't have seen. But it's quite a big chunk, which suggests they can no longer count their beans as well as they used to. Anyway, it was a very positive figure there, and coming with the unemployment claims were not as high as expected, falling there. So it's the perfect storm, effectively, to create something more there. That, along with the Fed powers statements recently, which have been quite hawkish, which diverges from what they've actually been doing. But anyway, and saying in the main statements, but he's become hawkish again, and the combination has seen the dollar continue to see some more strength. Today then, we've got not a great deal really. We've got inflation this morning. Then euro inflation flash estimates coming out. 10 o'clock, we could see a bit of movement from that. We've seen a lot of the individual countries already released. We've got the Canadian GDP. Whilst it's a key number, it comes out monthly and has less impact generally on the market. And we've got the core personal consumption expenditure price index. This is more significant. This is the index that the Feds use. So I would be very wary around that 130 today, which probably means it won't move at all. Anyway, if it comes in away from that expectation, be wary that the market could move quite a bit, particularly taking into account what's happened yesterday in the Fed, etc., etc. Right, let's go and have a look at these markets then, and Forex starting off looking at the euro dollar, what's setting up, what's not. It's more occasion of what's not really, but we'll see. Anyway, the daily on here, well, yesterday obviously down day for the euros. The dollar continued pushing through here. Seen this move continue. We're not far away from a double bottom, just to bear that in mind, although a near-term double bottom. Although the trend here, well, it started pushing quite well yesterday morning into the afternoon, and then bang. Now I've got a 30-minute chart. Just switch this to a 60-minute. You should see it a bit more. There we go. See a little bit how quick that hour just completely changed things from where it was. However, the trend had been down earlier in the morning. It had pushed on through beyond expectation for me anyway. I was wondering whether we'd get a reaction to the pivot. It never happened. But looking softer. Now it is along these lows here. There will be some form of divergence because of the retracements, but it could equally continue through here as we run through today. Now we have got the daily pivot above. My preference is always to see that being hit first, but if it runs down to the S1, bounces and breaks through, S2's on, and it does look soft at the moment. Looking at the pound, well, the pound again, we saw it on Thursday pushing down quite solid. Sorry, Wednesday pushing down solidly. Thursday we've seen a continuation of that. Morning, guys, and well, it's looking like it's pretty soft that's kicking through here. Soft price action is big sort of movements. Actually, that was yesterday's movement. It's come down to the hourly, so that was yesterday's movement. I'd been sitting watching and waiting for this. It tested, it moved around, and it pipped up. Then I'd sort of walked away thinking I'll come back, I'll have a look after the news, and well, the news did it, didn't it? So it broke down. It didn't quite get to its S1. It may be off later on today. We'll see what happens. Again, it's where it's already hit the pivot today. Really quite ugly what it's doing actually. So I'd like to have seen it break the lows here, but target wise, I'm a bit limited on the end of the day, and I don't want to be sitting in a position over the end of the week. Mainly because I'm not here next week, so I don't want to be sitting in positions. Oops, I missed a yen there. Dollar yen, well, the yen's marginally stronger this morning. We've seen it pushing and pushing and pushing. It has hit the 145 area, just poked its head above that, and reacted to it. Now, there's no surprise we see some sort of reaction to that. It might even be a bit bigger. We'll see how the morning goes, but it's still largely in trend to the upside. I was explaining this in the trading room yesterday. There's absolutely no need to be first into any shorting because we think this is going to happen or that's going to happen. It is a case of we're only thinking it's going to happen, or we might have a feeling. Rubbish, just leave it. Feelings don't count for profit. Profit comes from seeing their price action confirm its downside. This hasn't done anything of the sort yet. Yes, it's had a little retrace here, but it's still solidly up there. When it starts putting lower highs in on the hourly, the 4 hourly, then I'd be changing my mind on this now. There's an expectation that things might change, and this is why I wouldn't hold a position longer than the 145. I came out in a position the day before into I can't remember, it was this day or the day before that now, wasn't it? But I came out into an R1 because I was expecting some sort of reaction up here because of the 145 as a key number that hit before. But it's nothing about feeling or whatever else. It's just purely that's where it hit last time when they suddenly took some action. So they've not taken any action that I know of at the moment, and certainly if they had, I'd expected a bigger move down here. But it's there, but there's no need to try and be first in here. With the way markets work and the end of the quarter, etc., we could see this pushing through. So just be wary. Well, I've gone back onto an hourly there. There we go. Okay. So nothing quite yet, and if anything, it is still very much in a bullish direction. Right, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar, well, consolidated yesterday. It's within range today. It's consolidating around these lows of this S1. Now it hasn't hit the weekly pivot there, so there's chance for it to come through and move down towards its S2, but there's not a lot of week left. We're almost at the end of it, but just ignore the pivots for a moment. It's quite a nice bear flaggy sort of pattern, so maybe next week if it doesn't start this week. But personally, I just don't want to be holding anything over the weekend into a week which I'm not around. So quite choppy on the dailies here. You see it did bounce quite strongly yesterday afternoon, so just be wary of this. It needs something. We got the central bank meeting for the Reserve Bank of Australia next week, so it's not one to be holding into that for me anyway. US dollar CAD, well, yesterday it picked back a little bit. It just sort of pulled back, but it's consolidating around where it is at the moment. Now it is consolidating near the highs, so there is the potential of a continuation. Looking at lower time frames. Having said that, actually it's not quite so close around the highs on this level. but softening as we at the moment, as is everything else, and just the baby goes out with the bathwater sometimes, and this may well be a case of that. But it's certainly slower than the movements we're seeing with the other markets. Had softened quite considerably Wednesday and Thursday, so but holding back here on Thursday and into Friday. Well, just looking at this, I'd like to see it. If it broke down these lows here, I would like to think I'd get into a short, mainly because of the bigger picture here. Yes, it has pulled up here, but if it broke those levels, maybe into next week, it could be a short. It will give us a lower high, and the Canadian dollar will continue strengthening. New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar just stalled here a little bit. Again, it's yesterday. Since yesterday's move there in the US, it's bounced back up again. Still looking soft. It had already had quite a sell-off there. Again, it's just like most of the commodity currencies. In fact, a lot of the currencies at the moment just got this consolidation here. This isn't as low as it went yesterday, so we'll see. It just a bit iffy. Some of the cross pairs to look at then, the euro yen. Well, there we go. I was just pointing out this sort of boxy pattern that we'd had here. Wasn't a tradable box to me in terms of the price action that went through it, but it certainly is where the range had been sitting, and well, you could extend that a little bit longer to where it was. Has broken to the downside of that at the moment. With expectation of something like that in an uptrend would have been a break to the upside, but it has just popped out. But beware, often when we see these boxes break the wrong way, price comes back within them. Euro pound, just for observation, just was looking positive yesterday. Just in the end, slipped back on the news. The pound just lost a little bit less than the euro did. The euro saw more selling coming through there. Other cross pairs, pound CAD. Pound CAD broke quite nicely. Actually, sorry, I've left the Euro CAD out of there. Let's just look at that first. Euro CAD again, it went off nicely. I like this on the bearish side overall because of what's been going on, but has stalled somewhat. But maybe we'll see a continuation and a sell-off towards the downside. Probably too late for me this week, but it is potentially sitting there. Right. And you've got this consolidation around the lows here, sort of flaggy type pattern. Break of the lows of that. Could see the S1 even being hit today. The pound, similar picture then, but it's caught its pivot, which is quite nice. So how it reacts from this morning, again, this could roll over towards its S1. Other pairs, Aussie, New Zealand. I look at this quite a lot. It's gone a bit iffy. This was working quite nicely. It's looking at the bigger picture now. It's catching more of a bounce on where it is at the moment. But in this picture here, looking at it 4 hourly wise, it's not such an ugly looking upward channel sort of developing there with the missing out that spiky price action, but it's got that upward channel sort of running there. Ascending channel and a descending market, so possibility that if we see the break of the lows across here, we could get a continuation down to the S1 and beyond. Okay, not a lot else sitting there at the moment. It's so I'll do some more analysis in my trading room in a short while, but that's where we are for now. Looking further afield, then looking at gold. It's good to see how all the markets work. You may only trade Forex, but it's well worth looking at what's happening here with likes of gold just reflecting that stronger dollar. I remain bearish on it. Not a lot else to add on that. Silver, really, for those that follow silver, is just following the same route at the moment, and I remain bearish on that too as well. Oil, bit up and down at oil. Was looking at this yesterday to see if we got the we've seen back into it found support back onto its previous lows there, had the move up there, but yesterday really did very little at all, just consolidating. I was just looking from the pattern that had been sitting there, just measuring the potential upside there. We could see it running up to the sort of 71 and a half sort of area to finish that off anyway, at some stage, but it's very slow, very choppy. Stronger dollar price generally results in a weaker oil price. Okay, let's look at the equity markets then. CSI 300, let's just go up the time frames here. Still in bearish land, it's consolidating around these areas. As much as it's had an update, still looks pretty bearish to me. And that the Nikkei, the star performer, well, it's picked up again at the moment. I was looking yesterday at that shooting star, but maybe it's going to continue and push back onwards, but it still remains bullish. I certainly wouldn't be short in that market. Same goes with Nifty 50 here. Just remain bullish on this. Market's just flying upwards. Aussie 200, just looking where we are relative to the start of the year as well. On some of these markets up positive at the moment, but ugly as sin where it sits there. Nothing there looking interesting. End of year movement might be, as I said, having its result on the S&Ps, but it was a bull flag and it is moving in that in the right direction relative to its flag. Not really taking off in any speed here. They're saying that the flagpole itself was barely, it moved up. It isn't quite strong towards the end of the move there, but would have expected a bit more of a shove on here, but all the same, looking towards the positive side there. Now if this was to fail and break the lows here, well, that would give us a lower high and might just see a bit more of a correction in the S&Ps. Dow Jones following suit here, bit uglier, but again it's still same picture going on here. The Nasdaq slowed up here, it's just got caught up, and whilst the others are sort of making a bit more upside, this is stalled. It stalled yesterday for sure, and just it might, well, still got the potential break into this upside. It's still very much in a solid trend there. The DAX really, we've seen it for a while now. You're just still getting many days. I mean, yesterday hardly any movement there for most of the day there. What movement it is so small. There we go. So small and choppy. We're back into the highs of that, and well, is it going to get a break now? It is a consolidated phase, and it is towards a high, and the potential is that at some stage it will break out, whether it be this week or next, or maybe it won't break at all. It will roll back down. But the more tapping we see on the door here, the more I expect it to maybe catch the upside as well. FTSE sort of flaggy type pattern here, ish ugly, but it is managing a bit of a rise on the smaller time frame, but the bigger time frame here still sits there quite bearish to me at the moment. Quite off on that. It's more of a bear flag kicking through, which, well, you can see it here. It's a bit ugly looking, but it's taken a long time to react and start selling off, but any sell-off from this now could see it moving down quite well. Okay, finally, as it's Friday, I'll have a quick look at what's happening with your cryptos. I expect very little. Well, we have seen something. That's a 60-minute. Don't get too excited. There we go. Have seen a bit of action here. It is bull flaggy, so maybe over the weekend we could see a bit of a continuation, maybe a bit of end of month adjustment, even hitting this, but looking a little bit more positive there. Ethereum, yeah, I mean it's same. You have got flags in these, to be quite honest, so you could literally see a breakout of the highs of this little downward trend to see something more positive. I'm actually looking more positive on some of these markets now. They've consolidated. Chain link behind the curve in terms of where the price action is. It's right near a bottom, so there's better alternatives there if you want the upside. And Litecoin, for whatever reason, it's taken a flyer this morning and broken from its sort of flaggy pattern there, well up. Just finally, Solana, high low in there. As I say, if you were looking alongside us, I guess the temptation is because these are cheap to buy them in, but they're not as much as this has put a higher low in now. It still looks beyond the trend line. The structure's changed partially. Ripple, go nowhere compared to the others. Best avoided at the moment. So there we go. There's better opportunities. There's cleaner markets on the likes of Ethereum and Bitcoin, which could well go at some stage and push to the upside. Right. On that note, I wish you all the best. I won't be here next week on the videos, doing the videos in the mornings, but I'll be back the following week. Have a great one. Catch you later. Right, that's that job done.